Oh my God, Becky, look at this census. It is so big. I mean, their corners, they're so sharp. The edges, they're just out there. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video with Swaggle. And in this one, we need to talk about big censuses, or perhaps soon to be big censuses, because as you guys can see in front of you, coming from the Instagram page of the man behind the red hood, we got some comic book Grail finds in the wild. That is right. Ultimate Fallout 4, the Djurdjevic variant, the 1 in 25 modern Grail of modern Grails. Had a recent store drop off at Red Hood Comics, and it's just been a little while since we've talked about everybody's favorite key book. If there's any book that has seen a more tumultuous rise and fall over the last couple years, I'd be hard pressed to find another one. And so in this video, I wanted to talk about the Ultimate Fallout 4, give ourselves a little bit of a reminder of how, books, they're just still out there. And then also, not to get a little nostalgic as I saw this post, but I want to check in on the acetate books, the Clayton Crane, C2E2 exclusives. What are those selling for these days? Well, in this video, we're going to find out together. But of course, before I get into it, if you guys could like, comment, subscribe, I appreciate it. Helps support the channel doing those things. But let us get into this video here today. Now, there you guys see it. This is a post, again, like I said, coming out of Red Hood's Instagram, store walk-ins. A couple of these will be available this weekend at Planet Comic-Con official in Kansas City, but I'll have them at the shop tomorrow, only before I take them to me at the show. If they survive and they go, oh yeah, we'll be at Planet Comic-Con this weekend. So apparently, Red Hood opens up a new comic book store in the Las Vegas area, and as you do when you open up comic book stores, you attract collections to come to your store. And someone went in there, just casually walking in, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 Ultimate Fallout 4 Djurdjevic variants. My, oh my. What is the profile of somebody who's been sitting on 10 raw copies of this book? Did they miss the wave? Did they forget that at a time it was selling for $40,000? Like, who is this type of collector? I have the impression that modern collectors are, usually people who are a little more akin to sending in books to be graded. And I kind of just think it's so funny that you're somebody who bought 10 copies of this thing. Maybe you got it 10 years ago or whenever this thing first came out, and you've been sitting on it. You're speculating on Miles Morales. You're like, oh yeah, I'm going to really cash in. And you waited all this time to just bring it to a comic book store. I mean, I'm sure Red Hood was very happy that it walked in, but man, why didn't you send this in for grading yourself? I mean, even at the prices today, we're talking about, $100,000 of inventory right there. Assuming that these are going to actually hit 9.8, which we don't actually know if they're going to hit 9.8, but they possibly could. This reminds me of the video I made last year where I titled it, No Book is Rare. We had some good conversations in the YouTube comic book community about that. And, it was really just me kind of making a point that there's a lot of copies still out there, guys, out there in the wilds, whether they be for modern books or Bronze Age books or even Silver Age books. And yes, even some very obscure versions of those books still exist out there. If every book that wanted to be sold actually came to market today, all books would get nowhere near their fair market value or their most recent sales. A lot of what keeps comic book values at a certain level is simply due to the fact that there's a lot of people that are just not motivated to sell their comic book collections yet, or they don't know that they're sitting on, something of value, or they're just, chilling in boxes in their attic or their basement or their garage or wherever they actually put it. And it's one of those things where even for a book like this, you just have to think like, how many other people are there out there that have, 10 copies that they're sitting on? I mean, maybe there's not that many. I mean, we can't actually know, but maybe there are that many. And a little bit of a side right here, a little birdie told me at a comic show once upon a time. I'm not going to say too much here, but they mentioned to me that when this book was created, there are actually other variants that exist out there that people don't really know about yet. So the ultimate variant Grail for this book may not actually be the ultimate variant Grail for this book. Now, again, that's just a bunch of rumors. I don't actually know. Maybe they're making up stories, but I found it to be a really interesting anecdote. Now, if we check in here on this book, let's take a look at some of the values of what this thing has been selling for recently. As you guys can remember, I mean, we went here from 2020 with the sales around $3,000, climbing Mount Everest, going all the way up to the peak of $43,000, and then coming all the way back down to the most recent sale of being $10,175. Actually, it's a little bit less than that. I think the exact last sale for this book was actually $9,500. But you know, good news for you Djurdjevic variant fans and holders out there. The last 5 sales, or actually the last 4 sales, have been higher than the absolute bottom, which was the $7,700 sale back in November. So we've kind of seen, you know, a couple higher sales in the recent months, and there hasn't actually been one go up for sale here in the year 2025. In fact, when I actually go over to Heritage Auctions and I searched Ultimate Fallout 4 variant, we actually get no notifications of one. So maybe the wave has kind of stopped of people, you know, sending in this book to be sold. The panic selling is over for now, and maybe this is actually going to be, you know, kind of the new home price for this book. You know, still elevated over that of its, you know, pre-COVID prices, you know, around the $3,000 price point, but, you know, still respectable within the 5-figure range. Although, if we're Red Hood right here, I have to imagine that the people that either buy this book or he himself is going to be sending in a bunch to be graded, and who knows, maybe they'll end up on Heritage Auctions very, very soon. But this one is always a curious book to me because, you know, when we look at the census here for this thing, and we take a look at how many copies actually are in CGC, we can see that it has 845 universal copies. Now, that's kind of a lot, relatively speaking, I mean, compared to that of, say, a Golden Age census, but, you know, it's still a little bit lower, you know, than that of other modern grails that are out there. I mean, if we factor in the non-variant of this book, then yeah, there's like a bajillion copies out there. But if we're talking about just this one book, and we see that 9/8 right now have about 200 on the census, I mean, that puts this book pretty much in line to that of your Hulk 181s, your Giant Size X-Men 1s, your ASM 129s, books of that nature. And while I think that those are always going to be more desirable keys, I kind of equate, you know, Miles Morales and this book as being somewhat akin to those ones right there. A very similar type of comp. So maybe if we're going to all sniff some copium, you know, this is a book that could reach back up to what those books are selling for at that price point. You know, if we think that Miles Morales is going to be a character that people like to collect for many decades from here on out, you know, maybe this book will catch up to some degree and sell around the $15,000, $20,000 range once again. I mean, I don't know. It's hard to say. On the one hand, it's a really, really cool book, but on the other hand, nothing is rare, guys. There are so many copies out there. You know, if I'm being really honest, I actually kind of would want this book. I actually think that this book is pretty cool. Like, if you have it, unironically or ironically, it's actually cool to have, no matter how you slice it. I feel like everybody has an opinion on this book. Like, even in this post right here. I mean, look at this person saying, 30K book. I think they're being facetious right there. You know, got this person with the face. I think that's kind of implying hold. And even when you go to other posts or Facebook groups or forums or whatever, there's always going to be some guy in the comments that says that book is worthless. And I get it. I get it. Not everybody likes modern books, but I don't know. I still think it's kind of cool. Anyways, that made me think about this book right here. Ultimate Fallout 4, the acetate version. Man, oh man, the thing that started it all, the big moment in comic book collecting history, when everything changed from books going to the moon to drama taking over the comic book market. But man, you know what's crazy? Is that this book still sells for $165. Here, on March 1st. I think $165 is still more than what the retail price was. Do you guys remember what the retail price was? Was it like $120? Isn't that funny? Like, after everything, this book is still somewhat desirable. Now, it depends on which copy you have. You have the 9/8 right here that have the green label, and this one only got $78. So it's kind of funny that actually a raw copy is more valuable than this 9/8. Although this was one of those books that was getting, you know, 9/9s and 10/0. So maybe somebody thinks that they can get a 9/9 out of this. Because if they hit a 9/9, look at this price. Sold January 21, 2025, $500 for the 9/9 right there. $649 for the 9/9 green label signed. That's crazy. That here in the year 2025, people still paying that. I went over to GPA to check some of these prices to see. We have the 9/9 right here, $425. So maybe that wasn't a correct listing. Maybe that's not a real sale, or that wasn't a confirmed one. But we have this right here, still someone paying $4 for it. This one right here, $500 in 2023. This one apparently signed by Jonathan Hickman. And then we still have this one back in September of 2022. Someone paying $2,200 for the 10.0 copy. But the craziest thing about this is that aren't there still 2 of these books that are in CGC blue labels? I believe there's one 10.0 and 199 that are in CGC blue labels before CGC started to give them the distinction of being a green label. And those ones we haven't seen in quite a long time. And I would be curious to know if those ones would actually sell for a premium, because in a lot of ways, those ones are the ones. They represent the books that caused all of the drama. So in a lot of ways, those ones are kind of infamous, but maybe not as infamous as this book right here. Anyways, that's all for this video. That was me going over a little bit of, comic news. I always kind of find it interesting when people get, comic book collections or finds and things like that. And I don't know, you don't really see 10 Djurdjevic variants coming into a comic book store, especially not ones coming in raw like this. I mean, can you imagine? What if there are short boxes of this thing? Like the Spawn Netherrealm book. Like, what if people are sitting on this? If they are, can I have one? I mean, I don't want to give you $9,000 for it, but, I'd be interested in having one for the collection. What about you guys? Anyways, as you guys pontificate on that, I'll leave you with this song that maybe once again we can make the song of the summer here in 2025. Thanks so much for watching. See y'all in the next video.
Once a treasure in the sky, 50 grand and flying high. Now it falls like fading dreams, 9K and losing steam. Collectors turn away their sights from Miles Morales' fight. Peter Parker's still a king, the web sling they prefer to fling. Ultimate fallout, price tags falling down. Once a Grail, now a found. Ultimate fallout, watch it hit the ground. From highs to lows, no.